University hosted a town hall debate for Ward 8. Incumbent Peter LiPreti, Anthony Perruzza, and Garry Green were present to answer faculty and student questions. We were also able to speak with Stephen LeDrew, who's running for mayor. For JaneandFinch.com, I'm Sabrina Gopaul.
Hi, I'm Peter LiPreti, and I've been a councillor for several years. The Jane Finch area is one of the most beautiful areas in the city of Toronto. It is a vulnerable community, but yet it has potential to become a real leader in the whole city of Toronto. We have more talent in our community than anywhere else in the city. Talent that is not developed, and talent that I'm slowly trying to develop by bringing in facilities. I brought in a theater for young people that like to dance and sing and do theaters, for them to have an opportunity. I brought in places like Tennis Canada, where young people can learn a sport. I brought in community centers. I brought in soccer fields, cricket fields for all young people. The focus is that, I guess the philosophical thinking behind it is that we need to channel the energy from our young people in constructive ways. And this is the way we can only do it, by providing opportunities, by providing areas that young people can spend time and grow. In addition to that, I've also enjoyed creating learning centers where young people can learn a trade, where young people that do not excel in academics, that perhaps can learn how to become auto mechanics or painters or draftspeople. Some of these learning centers are right inside the community, and they continue to prosper. Others are coming up in the future years. The other areas that makes Jane Finch a very unique community is the power of the people. We have sensational people that truly care about each other, that truly care about by being part of a community, that want to make a difference, that want to reduce the stigma attached in being a violent community or being a community that is not as valuable as others. And these people truly care. So it's the power of the people that I am very much interested in. I feel safer in walking in the Jane Finch area, on the sidewalks, on the street, more safer there than any other place in the city. It is an immense opportunity for us to build on the power of the people and try to change that community around for the better. I've initiated at least 24 opportunities for young people in the Jane Finch area. Opportunities such as Friends in Trouble, where we get young people to talk about what the problems are, to talk about how they can improve themselves, opening up the plazas to the young people by putting in little centers where they can articulate their thoughts, that they can talk about who they are. By opening up the more facilities, by making sure that we bring grants and social service agencies that can work and channel the energy into young people. So I think that we have quite a few opportunities for young people in the Jane Finch area. They're not enough. I think that we can always get some more. In the next 4 years, I will make sure that we get enough grants to go around. There's housing developments that are in the stage of an application. They are totally unwarranted. I am totally opposed to them. I will fight them all the way to the end. And some of these developments do not fit in at all. They're not compatible with the rest of the community, and we have to make sure that they are taken, that they're defeated. The community knows about it. The community is supportive of my plan, and I hope that I will be leading them in that way. the announcement of the federal government with childcare, we will be opening up at least 3 new centers for childcare. We already have one of the highest areas of concentration for childcare, but we're going to start with breakfast programs at Driftwood Community Center, at Oakville. We will be starting with some of the before and after school programs in some of the elementary schools in the area. So I think that the announcement by the federal government to look at childcare in the area is going to affect us in a positive way. That was my initial project, to be not widespread, but in specific areas where crime was very, very high. So in other words, 7 years ago or 8 years ago, I made a proposal to put cameras in Shoreham Court because of the high incidence of crime in that area. I don't approve of cameras all over the place. I think that people's privacy is very, very important. But in high crime areas or vulnerable areas, I think we need to look at it after a great deal of thought. It should not be given as a right, and I think that the community should be informed before they're put in. I disagree. When I took over the ward, youth unemployment in the area was about 25%, which was equivalent to the average in Newfoundland. While in Toronto, the unemployment was about 6%, youth unemployment in the area was 25% about 10 years ago. Today, we are at about 12%. That is not satisfactory. That's not, it's not good, but we have cut it by over half, and we are continuing to make sure that we get more. Social housing is with us, and it's going to be here to stay. There are 3 projects that I'm working on. One is the Edgeley Village is next on the block for redevelopment. Shoreham, I'm working on a package because the subway is coming there. I'm working on a package to bring in private-public partnerships. And I'm going to go on those 2 projects. Based on the experience of those 2 projects, I will be better able to serve the community in that way. Well, I would think that the constituents, I would ask or appeal to my constituents to look at, first of all, the honesty of the candidates. Look at, traditionally, I've never said something negative about my opponents. I respect everybody for who they are and their wish to serve publicly. I would hope that our constituents are going to be voting us on issues and not because of what the Toronto Star or the Toronto Sun or some of the negativity that my opponents are bringing forward towards me. I believe that we need to stick on issues. We in our community should be valuing each other, not trying to minimize whatever we do by putting some other people down. If that is the way to get elected, I want nothing to do with it. The way to get elected in Ward 8 is to respect everybody, to respect everyone that is going for council or that wants to be elected. But above most, it's a respect for the people that are there. Thank you.
I'm Anthony Perruzza. I have lived in this area for the past 38 years. Grew up at Weston and Finch, currently live in the Islington Finch area. Attended local schools, graduate of York University. Well, you know, the last election was a very hurried election for us. I started off late, actual electioneering, and the campaign grew, but regrettably we ran out of time in the last go-around. But we were growing, and I believe that another week or 2, we would have had the change then. But I have to tell you, waiting 3 years is not bad, because you're able to further connect to the community, better understand the issues, better articulate your vision, better articulate the kinds of things that you want to achieve, that you want to do. In this time, we're far more prepared than we've ever been. We've been out there. We've been talking to thousands and thousands of people, and they're coming on board. They're coming on board in droves, and come November 14th, there'll be a lot of work for us to do, because we have no doubt whatsoever that we are winning in this election. There are a number of really significant developments that are happening, and some of the things that I think we need to stop. We need to bring back some integrity into the process. We just can't simply be letting the developers dictate to us what form developments are going to be taking shape. For example, in the tribute development just down the street, when that first phase was approved, the Works Department staff were recommending to Council that Council apply a $1.35 million, $1,350,000 life cycle maintenance cost fee to the development. And that fee was reduced by the local councillor by about $1.1 million by way of a motion of the local councillor. That kind of stuff has to stop, because $1.1 million, we can do a lot of things with that, and that set the standard for the next phase. And then, and of course, the city basically lost a whole bunch of other monies in that as well. So that's got to stop. We need to bring some integrity back into the process, where developers just simply aren't allowed to do what it is that they want to do, but that community concerns, community needs are met as part of new development. You know, I'm not going to go into that very directly, but let me just say this: that our area has for many years been getting, in my view, a very bad rep by the media and by the powers that be. This is a wonderful community. It has some wonderful elements to it. This summer we met many of the people that live up here. I'm told that over 100 different languages are spoken in this community. This is the mini United Nations of Toronto. It has some real wonderful gems. It's got York University, Seneca College, Black Creek Pioneer Village. These are gems that we need to bring out into the community, and I call it my pride of place policy. I want people who live here to know that these gems are here. I want them to connect to them. I want them to participate in them. I want them to attend the places, and I want them to be able to say when they're asked by friends and relatives and people who live outside the community, where do you live? I want somebody to be able to say, I live on Driftwood, right next to York University. You know, there's a big clamor from people because they believe that cameras or any type of picture taking is the end all to the be all. But what I believe it does is it creates some false impressions as well, because all of a sudden it creates a false sense of security. It creates a false sense of security with people. It in my view, in many cases, it creates an infringement in terms of privacy for people. But I'm hoping that what it does, what it doesn't do, is that basically says to the authorities and to the police, you no longer now have to come into the community because Big Brother is watching in a corner. Because I tell you, a camera's not going to stop anything, and it's not going to make anybody any safer, you know, other than perhaps after the fact. What we need to do is we need upfront prevention. We need a trade school. We need to provide our young people with a sense of hope. We need to give them discipline. We need to support the many community workers that are out there doing wonderful work in community that virtually get no support from municipal, provincial, or federal governments. We need that network of good people being supported so that they can continue to go out and do the work, so that we deal with the root causes of violence, many of them. And we need to deal with the issue of poverty. There's no question. Poverty, housing. I mean, the work to be done is so massive, and we're so eager to get to it. I just can't wait for the election to come and wait for the 13th so that we can get on with it on the 14th. Well, precisely. We have all kinds of training abilities. There's all kinds of training monies now flowing to the trades unions, for example, where they do training and accreditation once someone has a job with somebody and becomes a member of the union. What we need to do is we need to bring some of them out into the community with their skilled tradesmen and say, look, we're also going to give an opportunity to young people, to youth who don't have a job. We want to connect them to a job. We want to give them the experiences so that they can connect to meaningful employment, good paying, skilled jobs. So they're there. We just now need to convince them to say, okay, you're doing the training with your members. Come on now, do it with the 15, 16, 17-year-old kids that we're going to direct to you. Precisely. You know, for many years, this goes on and on and on. We have many of our big landlords are very, very bad, and the living conditions for people are just simply abysmal. Infestations, drywall broken down, carpeting that just, well, look at the expression on my face. I can't find the words to describe it. Kitchen cabinets and plumbing that is falling apart. And you know what? The city seems to be powerless to force its landlords to do anything about it. At election time, you know, the politicians come along with a cadre of bylaw enforcement officers in tow, and you get a bunch of paper being shuffled back and forth, and nothing really happens to the housing. Landlord licensing is a meaningful tool for the new city council to force landlords to maintain a decent level of maintenance standard in all of our housing. Well, I'm hoping that people are as excited about this election as I am. I hope that they march on over to the polling stations and get out and vote. Doesn't matter if you don't get a voting card. As long as you're a citizen, you're over 18 years of age and you live in this community, you get yourself to a polling station, bring some identification with you, and they're going to allow you to vote. They can't deny you your vote because the system, you know, sometimes works against you. A lot of people aren't going to get a voting card because they're not on the voters list, and people automatically think that somehow they can't vote. Well, you know what? If you're a citizen over 18, you can vote. Bring the ID with you. Get yourself to your local polling station and cast your ballot. And let's get started with the good work that we got to do.
My name is Garry Green, and I live in Ward 8, which is where Jane and Finch is housed. I live at Sentinel in Grand Ravine, not too far. My experience here is working with the Toronto Youth Job Corps program for a few years. I've also worked on the board of Blacksmith Child Care Center. I was on there for a couple of years, and this was before I had my son, but the supervisor came to me and just said, we're having a lot of problems with our child care center. There's a possibility that the place is going to move and everything like that, and the parents were very upset. And so I agreed to get on board. And so we were able to maintain the space within the school by me just helping them write letters to the right people. I wasn't able to be a part of actually writing the letter or signing my name because I worked with the school board, but just directing them in terms of who they should contact to get that kind of support. So I've worked in the community, live in the community, and have volunteered in the community. Yeah, I think that it is applied disproportionately. I mean, that is what I'm hearing when I go to community forums. I must say that I work in the business services department, so what I do is I apply and get funding for the area in order to run programs, employment programs, that sort of stuff. So I don't really work in the schools per se. We do have some programming in the schools, like the community access program where we bring computers into the schools. We also brought it into Oakdale Community Center. So my take on Safe Schools is my own. It's not, in any way reflective of the board, but I do think that we need to look at who it's impacting on. And some kids don't fit into the traditional system. Some kids are a little bit hyper. They need to get up and walk around and that sort of stuff, and they become more disruptive. And we need to start accommodating different learning styles. I mean, again, not that that's necessarily a city function, but something that you could advocate for the kids in the schools. Because I know my son, he's running around all the time and stuff. I'd hate to think that because he's a little disruptive that might end up being that he gets kicked out of school. one program that I work for, Toronto Youth Job Corps, it receives some city funding, and what they do is they also apply for federal funding. So they actually manage the project, the City of Toronto manages it, and then contracts it out. So I think that's a great model to follow, where if the city starts applying for a lot more funding, like the school board has done, like we have over 35 different employment programs under our umbrella of contracted services and partnership development in the school board, the city could do the exact same thing. So that's what I would be doing out of my office, is applying for this funding, and I think we could get so many programs here to help youth. Apprenticeship is a big focus right now by the provincial government, and when I was at the Driftwood Community Centre the other day, they had an information fair. I think that linking up more with them to do more information in the buildings and telling people, okay, you may not have this educational background, but you have other opportunities. We just need to keep the door open to as many youth as possible, and I think that having that leadership at the council level could affect everything that happens in the community. It's a great question. First of all, as a parent who has tried to look for childcare in the area, it's very difficult, and it's under-supported. And I think that if we look at the continuum of services, like the whole range of services that are needed in order to grow a healthy community and healthy children, it starts right there. Some mothers need to go out starting to work when the baby's 1 month old. It's wrong, but it happens. It's because, you know, either they didn't qualify for employment insurance, or the employment insurance that they're getting is so minuscule that you can't live off it. So it starts with that. Our current councillor actually voted against restoring, I'm not saying adding new, I'm saying restoring child care subsidies in 2003, and what that cost the City of Toronto was $1.2 million. So that was a hit for all parents in the area. And so when I called 11th or 12th place that I called to get my son into a child care center, it wasn't in this area. But I was just blessed and fortunate that they had an opening. And I'm very persistent. And so I called a lot of places. Some parents would give up after a few. They'd say, you know what, I can't take that job because I can't get child care. We need to start looking at these. There's a correlation between the health of the community and the health of the children, and that's where we need to start with our funding. Well, it's kind of funny that that's always the response. There's crime in an area. Wow, let's watch people closer, right? That will take away the crime. So what happens is you're on one side of the street and the crime's taking place. I got a great idea. Let's go across the road where we can't be seen by the cameras, because don't you know, there's going to be a sign up saying, camera here, you are being watched. So I don't understand why that would deter people from crime. It may deter where the crime takes place, which in some trouble spots, if there's enclosed areas where people feel unsafe, i.e. an elevator, I'm all for that because they have no exit, right? They have no place where they can go, and if that makes them feel safer, then that's great. But let's look at where we should be investing that $2 million. Let's start, repairing buildings. Let's not have people wait a year in order to get routine, basic maintenance done to their apartment. Let's give them a little bit of dignity of life. Let's help them to get jobs. That would be a great way. Give me $2 million. I'll show you what I can do with it. The communities will feel safer because the people will be working. They won't have time to be doing stuff. I think that that's the way we need to look at it. Now, if they were investing in the cameras and they were also investing in the community, if they were also saying, okay, well, we're doing this $2 million, but we're also going to make sure every person who wants a job has one, then we can talk about the merit or lack thereof. But if you're just saying you only have $2 million to go around and I'm going to invest in the cameras as my #1 priority, I don't think that's how you reduce crime. You reduce it through improved housing, and you reduce it through more employment opportunities. Well, there are very few inspectors. The places get inspected very infrequently. And so the result is that places get run down, and you have city councillors who are getting their funding from developers, and so they have no real built-in incentive in order to improve the conditions. I'm not taking any money from developers. I won't be taking any money from developers. So then when I'm going to vote, when I'm going to act, I'm doing it in the best interest of people. There are a lot of different ideas people could take. The important thing for me is we need to increase the monitoring and inspection of the places, or we're not going to get any improvement. And then we need to have some teeth to it. So what is the outcome if you don't improve the state of your building in the three key areas that I've pointed out around health and hygiene, around just the general maintenance and upkeep, and around the overall aesthetics of the place. If you don't improve in those areas, what are the outcomes? I think people should be losing their contracts, and I think that we need to start being a more model landlord. The Toronto Community Housing Corporation, if I'm going to attach the name Toronto, a place I'm very proud of, I'm not going to allow people to live in crappy places like that. No offense to the folks who live there, because I know, you live there for many years, you keep hoping that the next person's going to make a difference. So we go into a restaurant and we know that they have a green for a pass, they have an amber if you've got some work to do, and you have a red, which means, we better alert ourselves to this. Well, I think that a similar approach could be done in our buildings, so that if everything is working out well, you get a green. You show that, you're proud of it, you show it in the lobby. If you just need a bit of work, you get an amber. Somebody comes back in a reasonable period of time, and then hopefully puts the green up. If you get a red, that says time to switch the management company. And I've had a lot of places, and I'm not just talking TCHC, but other buildings too. And with TCHC being $250 million in capital deficit, we're only going to see matters get worse. So somebody needs to start saying this. I can't do it alone. I've got to be honest with you. If I get in, you're not going to see every building better in a day. But at least I can start saying to the provincial and the federal government, to developers, and everyone in the community, this has to change. And that's the first step, at least knowing that you have a champion. There's other things we can do around Edgeley Village as well. They were slated for redesign 30 years ago, and for some reason our community has been overlooked. Regent Park has been looked after. I'm assuming the only difference is advocacy. So I would be there advocating for people. I'm meeting with a lot of the residents at Edgeley. I know that they would come out and support getting some changes there. One young fellow just said, you know what, we've got that space right there. We're just standing here. They're standing on the stoop every single day. Every time I've been there, the same guys are right there. And they just said, I'd like something to do. Like, can you get some, maybe even a court over here or something? I would do it one better. I say the whole thing's got to be redesigned. I would like to say that whatever happens, I want you to go out and vote. I do live in the area. I've done a lot of work for the area, and I'm going to keep doing that whether I win or lose. But if you're not voting for me, please vote, because what happens after the election, people are going to look at the polling results, and they're going to see where people voted and where they didn't, and surprise, surprise, the areas where people vote are going to get more attention. Not if I'm elected, but that's what's going to happen if anyone else gets elected. So please, it doesn't take you very long. Often you'll have it right in your building, and I know it's a leap of faith. You just have to go in and spoil your ballot. I encourage you to do that because it registers as a vote. So if you need to get in touch with me, if you need help with anything, pre or post November 13th, you can call me at 416-635-0159. Thanks so much.
My name is Stephen LeDrew. I'm a candidate for mayor, one of the 3 serious candidates for the mayor of the City of Toronto. So Sabrina, you're asking about why I put my hat into the ring, because I'm very dissatisfied with the job that my friend David Miller is doing. I think the city is deteriorating. He's made some bad political decisions as to what to do with the taxpayers' money. And he promised to sweep out City Hall. I can go on for an hour on this thing. He promised to sweep out City Hall. He has the same old cronies in there doing business at City Hall. He promised clean and safe streets. He says that he has a study that says the city is cleaner. I don't need a study. You just go out and walk down any of the streets and you know that the city is not in better shape than it was 3 years ago. And he wasn't going to be making any other changes. So I said, it's time to get into the race. I've been in politics a long time. I've been a municipal lawyer for 25 years. I know what's going wrong at City Hall. I know how to fix it. So here I am. And we're having a great campaign so far. Well, first of all, I don't think it's to the the McGuinty government to be doing that. It's a City of Toronto thing. And City of Toronto needs, as my campaign slogan, a strong mayor, a mayor that's going to be dealing with those issues instead of having some other government coming in. And cameras are a very sensitive item. Secondly, there shouldn't be that many, quote, at-risk neighborhoods in the first place. The mayor made an announcement the other day about doing special things for these 13 communities. When he became mayor, there were only 4. So I said, like, what have you been doing for the last 3 years? So I'm not sure it's going to get at the root of the problem, which is economic opportunity and community involvement. That is what is needed to deal with at-risk communities, and we have the resources to do it if they're applied correctly. For cameras, it is a slippery slope, and I hope we never get to the stage where they have in a city in Britain, where they not only have cameras, Sabrina, they have a loudspeaker, and somebody's watching it all the time, and they actually can go on a loudspeaker, put that down. You know, I mean, I don't know if you knew about that. It's bizarre. It's like something out of, a very bad science fiction movie. Well, I like being here, and I think it's a terrific institution, and we should foster institutions because, education is the key to the future. It sounds so corny, but it is. Education and ideas are what ensure a good future. And I'm no stranger to the community. I ran political campaigns in here. Now, it's a little while ago, probably way before you were born, Sabrina, but in 1974, 1979, 1980, I knew every little backyard in the area. And so it's changed a lot since then, but I have a reasonable understanding of what is needed, and a lot of that is economic opportunity. We can't have businesses leaving Toronto because the taxes here are higher than in other municipalities, and we need more fostering of community development where people work with the community as opposed to against the community. Well, I'm not a huge fan of government creating youth opportunities because they're sort of false jobs. They're not long-lasting jobs. They're huge expense of taxpayers' money. I would far rather have real jobs that are there by business so that, they're long-lasting and that, they're on, either high-tech or on the forward edge. Most government jobs, which are created, are just that. It's just some bureaucratic thing which doesn't really mean anything. And so it's not meaningful to the individual either. You can't go anywhere and say, well, I've been working for 20 years doing some, rinky-dinky, low-level government job and have any credentials. So it's coming down again to business. And we need enterprise in this community as we do anywhere in Toronto. Part of that is through a good tax structure where they aren't penalized now. We have businesses leaving Toronto. And that's a shame. I think you are a great interviewer. That's what I want to say. How's that? Thanks a lot.